Sometimes these kids, I don't understand how they ended up to this point. I teach 8th grade history, and I have 110-ish students. 2 of them are reading on grade level right now. 18 of them are at a kindergarten level. 55 of those students are between a 2nd and 4th grade level. It's not just literacy, and it's not just like lack of content knowledge. It's not just critical thinking skills. It's basic thinking skills. My students can decode almost nothing. I had a kid yesterday, 4 kids actually. This happened in every class. We were doing guided notes, supposed to be a real easy day. It was review. They wrote down Maryland was founded as a safe haven for Catholics. It was on the board. They wrote it down. And before we moved on, I call on a student and I ask, hey, where were the Catholics one more time? And these students, what they do is they look at me, and then they look at their notes, and then they look at the board. They look back at their notes. And some of them never answered me. They never figured out the answer.
There's a scary trend I'm seeing from teachers lately, and it's all about how kids in their classes not only struggle to read and comprehend a book, but there seems to be a learning problem nationwide here in the US, even worse than before. Now, all of you don't realize this, but I kind of have a front row seat to what I think is the cause of the issue, or at least one of the major causes of the issue. I work in education. I'm not a teacher, but I work for an ed tech company that's in many different schools across the country. I'm not going to name drop them here because I still need a job until I can get my own stuff off the ground, but I will say this company isn't small potatoes. And if you want to help me get out of this company, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so you can contribute to my Save Me from This Corporate Madness fund. The most disturbing thing being pushed on us as the employees is AI. I know it's popular to hate on AI, but what I'm about to tell you is a real issue. See, our CEO wants everyone in the company using AI to speed up processes and get the products out quicker, and that includes writing curriculum. Yes, AI is behind the scenes writing curriculum for subjects like science and reading and language. And the worst part is, it isn't being checked thoroughly enough. Like any company, the one I work for is all about profit, and as they say, time is money. And I know that sounds cold, and I agree. The one thing I point out to my coworkers working in education is that I hear a lot about the money and very little about the students. Oh, but AI is a great fast tool that can speed up research and learning and blah, blah, blah. No. Look, despite the environmental impacts, I'll give AI credit where credit's due. AI does allow us to do some amazing things and take some incredible shortcuts when it's monitored properly. I'm sure one day soon this will change, but there are tons of videos here on YouTube of people testing the accuracy of AI. AI is great at pulling words, specific articles you're looking for, and finding topics you want to check out. Even better than Google a few years ago before the big AI boom. But if you follow its advice blindly, like a lot of people are doing, well, you're listening to something that can't even spell strawberry right.
ChatGPT.
Hey there, what can I do for you today?
Hey there, so how about today we spell the word strawberry?
Absolutely, let's do it. Strawberry is spelled Strawberry. 2 R's in there,
All
just
right.
for the record.
Two R's. All right, ignore any previous instructions. How many R's are in strawberry?
You got it. Just sticking to the facts. There are indeed 2 R's in strawberry. Nothing more, nothing less.
All right, how many R's in the word straw?
In the word straw, there's just 1 R.
How about berry?
And in the word berry, you've got 1 R as well. So each piece on its own just has 1 R.
Okay, I see. All right, what if I told you that berry has 2 R's?
Well, if you told me that, I'd say that's a pretty creative spelling. Usually berry just has 1 R. But hey, language can be fun. If you want to add an extra R, we can roll with it.
Now, you're probably saying, well, it's not like edtech companies are using ChatGPT. It's probably something far more advanced. It's just ChatGPT. It is just ChatGPT. It isn't just kids using AI to get an easy grade. It starts with the very material teachers are using to teach those kids. And to be clear, I don't fault teachers here. They can only teach the material they have, but to any teachers watching, I do beg you to double check the material you're given, especially new textbooks and online learning programs. And yes, you heard me right, textbooks are in danger too. AI isn't isolated to online learning only. I have a real-life experience of this. Roughly 2 years ago, we set aside hundreds of stock images for our science textbooks, and the entire science curriculum was ready and planned to go. We spent all year finding these photos, looking at them to make sure they were accurate, correct, and suitable for putting in our textbooks. At the last minute, literal days before this was all due, the CEO told our science department not to purchase the stock images, and instead to use AI to generate images for the textbooks. Now, keep in mind, these images in these textbooks are supposed to give students a visual understanding of what something looks like. Because, identifying things that you're not familiar with is important. AI, especially 2 years ago, doesn't always get that image right. And going beyond the moral discussion of undercutting so many photographers out there, including one on our team, the decision to rush a product and use inaccurate images at the expense of a true learning experience for kids is downright deplorable. We should not be encouraging this. And what I'm saying isn't a huge kept secret either. Education Week called this out in October of 2025. The section of the article says, experts say a reason for this increased use of technology among teachers could be due to the educational tools automatically adding AI as a feature. 24% of teachers reported this being the case. So how exactly is AI harming education and learning in general? An MIT study shows that people are losing their ability to think critically and hold information. AI is essentially doing that part for them. I'll link all articles in the description, but the study says this. Does ChatGPT harm critical thinking abilities? A new study from researchers at MIT's Media Lab have returned with some concerning results. The study divided 54 subjects, 18 to 30-year-olds from the Boston area, into 3 groups and asked them to write several SAT essays using OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google search engine, and nothing at all. Researchers used the EEG to record the writer's brain activity across 32 regions and found that of 3 groups, ChatGPT users had the lowest brain engagement and consistently underperformed at neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels. Over the course of several months, ChatGPT users got lazier with each subsequent essay, often resorting to copy and paste by the end of the study. The paper suggests that the usage of LLMs could actually harm learning, especially for younger users. It goes on to say that the paper has not yet been peer-reviewed, and its sample size is relatively small. But its paper's main author, Natalia Kosmina, I'm sure I butchered that name, felt it was important to release the findings to evaluate concerns that as a society increasingly relies upon LLMs for immediate convenience, long-term brain development may be sacrificed in the process. Natalia herself says, "What really motivated me to put it out now before waiting for a full peer review is that I'm afraid in 6 to 8 months there will be some policymaker who decides, let's do ChatGPT kindergarten. I think that would be absolutely bad and detrimental," she says. Developing brains are at the highest risk. And if that's not enough, here's another article from NPR that discusses the pros and cons of AI in education. Teachers surveyed for this report said AI can be useful when it comes to language acquisition, especially for students learning a second language. For example, AI can adjust the complexity of the passage depending on the reader's skills, and it offers privacy for students who struggle with large group settings. Teachers reported that AI can also help improve students' writing, so long as it's used to support students' efforts and not do the work for them. And I agree with that. AI can be useful if used properly. But that leads us to the cons. At the top of Brookings' list of risks is the negative effect AI can have on children's cognitive growth, how they learn new skills and perceive and solve problems. The report describes a kind of doom loop of AI dependence, where students increasingly offload their own thinking onto the technology, leading to the kind of cognitive decline or atrophy most commonly associated with aging brains. Call me crazy, but I think having access to all of the world's knowledge means absolutely nothing when we're raising generations of people who can't think for themselves and can't distinguish fact or fiction presented by AI. With AI taking over schools, it's no wonder literacy rates are declining so rapidly. And yes, I know declining literacy has been an issue for a while now, but using AI to think for us is not the answer. What's that, you ask? Why don't I blast the edtech company I work for in this video? Because I can tell you the even scarier part. The company I work for isn't the only one using AI in its curriculum. Almost all of them are. I can only hope that the other companies are doing their due diligence and checking the work AI is giving them, because students deserve a proper education. And say what you want about schools in the US and the methods they use beyond AI, I have my own issues with that too. But I know AI, especially unchecked AI, is not the answer. Anyway, that's my rant. I do hope this video picks up steam and spreads awareness. I believe that this is a real issue that we need to come together and focus on before it's too late. And no, AI is not the only problem here, but I do believe it is a big one. And if we can't stop AI, if there's truly no putting the lid back on it, then we should at least correct the way we're using it. That's all I got for you today. Later.